those your children?
Yeah. I have a 3.5-year-old, and then the one on the top right was born actually 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Wow. I can see the pictures out there. Oh, hey.
Hey, Christian.
How are you?
How you doing?
Good. Thanks.
Okay, we can start by stating your name and your position.
My name is Christian McIver, and I'm an assistant minister at College Park Baptist Church in Greensboro.
How long would you say you've spent in this organization or at this church?
I've been a member here, technically a member for about 8 or 9 years, and had come pretty regularly while I was in graduate school at UNCG for music. After I graduated, kind of stopped coming regularly for a while. After my wife and I got married and had our first daughter, I started coming back more regularly, and that was about, well, our daughter's 3.5, so that was 3.5 years ago, and started being more active in the music ministry here, and eventually that grew into a position as assistant minister, which I started last August, and I'm going to Wake Forest School of Divinity right now. I'm working on a Master of Divinity degree.
Okay. What is the name of your organization?
We have a group that we're still actually working on coming up with a more creative name, but we're just calling it our Creation Justice Team right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an outgrowth of, I went to the Alliance of Baptists annual gathering. The Alliance of Baptists is like a Baptist network that College Park is affiliated with, and that was in Dayton, Ohio at the end of April. And their theme was Earth Beloved Community, and learned a lot about what churches were already doing in the areas of creation justice and environmental ecological awareness, and started to realize that that's always been an interest of mine, but I've never really taken it all that seriously, and I realized that's probably one of the most serious issues, that kind of affects everything. And so creation justice, a lot of what they talked about, that term specifically talks about how ecological and environmental issues sort of intersect with a lot of social issues that are going on at the same time. And a lot of what I heard made a lot of sense, and realized that it would be good for us to try and do what we could in the community. And so it's still a pretty new group, but we're trying to look for ways of being creative to sort of raise awareness in our own congregation, but also in the community, and do work in the areas of creation justice, or environmental and earth care, ecological awareness. So.
All right. How long would you say that the Creation Justice Ministry was created, or just a...
How long? Well, I preached a sermon on, I think it was May 20th, and that was when I sort of put the
Introduced
call out there for it. Yeah. And it started with, we have technically 15 members that are on it, and we've had 2 meetings so far. A lot of what we've done has been remote work. We have a shared Google Doc where we have a lot of initiatives and sort of assignments for the different members who are researching and applying for different various
positions within
not positions necessarily, but one of the things that we're working on is adopt a stream, and so there's kind of a process that you have to go through before you actually adopt a stream, and you have to, first of all, you have to get the maps and find where they are, and then you have to go look at the stream area and make sure it's actually available, and then you have to put in the application. So there's several different things that are going on like that with various different organizations like Parks and Rec and the city, and one guy's doing, I honestly don't even remember offhand the name of it, but something about rivers and wildlife in North Carolina, looking at doing sort of cleanups and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
What would you say is the overall purpose of your organization? What is your ultimate goal with it?
So that's also another thing that we're working on is a mission statement for ourselves, but I would say at this point, right now, our focus is on sort of raising awareness within the congregation, little by little, sort of putting things out there so that they understand that this is a priority here at College Park. So one thing that we're going to be working on is getting a bulletin board that just has sort of informational stuff on it that people, it's in the main hallway here, that people pass by and hopefully take a minute to look at something. And and
Maybe
we're
educating
Right.
the people within the
Mhm.
group to tell others, and I think it said on a local level and beyond, you were trying to get
Right.
it out there.
yeah, and so well, like one of the things that we're gonna start doing is on our bulletins having like we haven't figured out what to call this yet, but like a creation care tip of the week maybe or something like that. Just a little suggestion. I'm preaching this Sunday, and one thing that we're gonna start doing too is just having like weekly outings, like just to get outdoors basically, which is not necessarily like, for the community, but the way I'm gonna sort of, my take on that part of it is that if we are not caring for ourselves, we're not really caring for creation, but getting
Yeah.
outdoors and enjoying it is, kind of a first step in a lot of people's,
And,
oh
sorry.
no, you're fine.
So what was the church that you got the idea from, or again?
So the Alliance of Baptists is the organization that had the gathering that was called Earth Beloved Community. And so they have a creation justice community that is also very new. And I expressed interest in that, and I'm actually on the steering committee for that right now. My role so far has not been much except for to learn as much as I can, and
Yeah.
I'm sort of in charge of creating a Facebook group too.
Oh, nice.
So we have a Facebook group for our College Park team, and that's kind of, like I said, how we communicate without having to get everybody together at one time, which is just convenient for everybody, And so we have a meeting tomorrow with the Alliance actually to talk to some of the Alliance of Baptist representatives about, any stipulations that they might have about how they want the Facebook page to look and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, so.
I think I may have seen it, maybe. Is it posted already?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you said have you had any events or just meetings? You said you had two meetings.
Just meetings so far. What we're trying to do to start out with is, and this is kind of, again, an ongoing thing and it's still very much forming,
It's okay.
But I want to have like a web presence on our website so that we have a page for ourselves and maybe just some informational statistics and things like that and ways to be able to get involved. And, the Adopt a Stream is that particular initiative, I guess you could call it, is you have to clean the stream like 2 times a year basically. And so we're looking for things where we might be able to set things up to advertise to the congregation and get a bunch of people involved in doing it at the same time. So, but yeah, simple things to sort of not require a whole lot of time commitment from anybody, but to make these opportunities available so that they can feel like they're helping out the community. So.
And you said there's about 15 people in your organization?
Right now.
Right. So how would you educate people in your group and others about ecological dilemmas? You said the website.
What we've done so far is just, we've shared a lot of information on different, websites that people have researched and checked their sources and made sure that they're, reliable sources and everything. Another thing that we're considering doing is having a movie night where we show, there's several options that we would talk about, which
maybe
one to
vote
show,
on it or
yeah,
something.
Right. But there's, but that would be a simple thing where we could just have people together. We have Wednesday night Bible studies anyways, which is really more of a book study or lecture series kind of thing. And so we might end up using that time to show a movie at some point or just do a presentation, on it.
Yeah.
But so.
What are some important issues you like to bring up in these meetings, or something that means something to you as far as like?
To me,
littering is the
right.
one.
That's. I'm still very much. I told you this before on camera, I think, but very much learning about these issues myself, and so I'm just trying to learn all I can right now. But what was the question again?
Just like some issues you would like to educate people on, maybe like recycling or like clean energy, riding a bike instead of a car.
Right. So let's see. I'm trying to think of what we have going right now. But littering is one of them. We have our building and grounds committee is writing up a list of all the things that they already do in the church in the areas of energy efficiency, because that's an ongoing concern when they're replacing, all the lights around the facilities and everything, and doing electrical wiring and all that kind of stuff. And so that's part of, when we've looked at other groups that have done these kinds of things, a lot of them say, what you want to do initially is again, raise awareness in the congregation. And so one of the easy ways of doing that is looking at what we're already doing, you know. And so it's just gathering information basically and putting it in one place that's accessible for everybody. But yeah, energy efficiency. We had somebody actually do a proposal for solar panels here a few years ago, and so we might end up looking at that again a little more seriously. It's very expensive, but the idea is that it pays itself off pretty quickly. Yeah. But again, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
There's a guy in our congregation though that does know quite a bit about that. And then, you know, climate change. Let's see, but mostly so far it has centered around littering, and that's why I'm looking forward to this class that I'm taking in the fall is to learn more about all the different aspects of this, and also being on this steering committee I'm sure will be helpful too, because I've kind of a direct line into sort of what we're trying to model our group after, which is the Alliance. But there's a lot of other churches and denominations that have already kind of started their own. They may be called different things besides creation justice, like Earth Care or something like that, but they kind of center around the same things. So.
How would you say God plays an influence on ecology and nature? Like, how do I say this? How does he? Yeah.
Me personally, I find, you know, creation to be sort of like the expression of God, and so. And if you think about like all the systems that, well, you're asking about education. One thing to think about is that like, you think about all the things that we accept in our society as how we go about our daily business, and like if you just stop in the grocery store, for example, at some point and look around at all the packaging, like all the future garbage that's there and all the plastic that's going to go nowhere for thousands of years, it's kind of like, oh, what are we doing, you know? Yeah. And also, you know, we have our whole infrastructure based on fossil fuels, and you know that's obviously a political fight, but it's also much more than a political fight. I mean, you know, one of the things I in my sermons talking about how, you know, we're literally choking ourselves, you know, with the air we breathe, and we're like choking the earth, and so if we're not caring for, you know, sort of this gift that we've been given in life and in creation, then, you know, like I said, like, what are we doing? You know?
I was looking on the website, and I think I saw something about a photograph thing.
Can you specify that's right. I'll show you in a minute, but it's so the creation project is basically, it's just an idea I had for people sending in pictures or photographs or pieces of art. I'm trying to figure out how to get this one framed, but here's an example. I'll hold them up actually. So here's a piece of art one of our youth did of a jellyfish.
Oh wow! Is that pencil or?
I guess it's it's from a copper plate engraving or something. I don't really know exactly what the medium is, but yeah, it looks like pen and pencil.
Very cool.
But, yeah, and here's another. You know, of a park. So there's pieces of art and photographs people have been sending in, just with the idea of, you know, how do you see God in creation, basically, or in the act of creating, in the case of art, and you know, how does that speak to you? And so the initial idea was just to get some color in the halls because they looked kind of bare, and I figured that like if we had our members send in stuff that they've taken, it might be nice for them to be able to see their work in the halls and be able to talk to other people about it. So.
What would you say the age group is overall? Like, is it mostly youth, or is it a mix, or older people?
The Creation Justice team? It's actually a really good mix. We've probably got, I think, 4 or 5 youth who are, actually several of them are probably kind of like aging out of youth at this point. And some young adults and some middle-aged, and we had 1 or 2 probably past middle age too, so it's a pretty good mix, you know.
All right, just 2 more. And how much of an influence do you think religious leaders have on the earth? Like, if more pastors and other youth groups were doing something like this, how big of a change do you think they could?
I mean, me personally, I think if it was a focus, one of the reasons that I left teaching and went into ministry was because I felt like there were some fundamental things educationally, honestly, that I couldn't address in a public school classroom. And
Yeah.
I saw, you know, some character things in the, you know, some issues in the students that I was dealing with that I felt like I couldn't really go there in a classroom in the way that I wanted to. I was kind of limited. And I felt like, you know, in ministry I would be able to sort of be active in more different ways, which I already am, because this is not something I would have ever been able to do as a band director.
Yeah.
I felt like, you know, thinking about my own self coming to church and how I was getting more and more out of it every week, and I felt like it was sort of the best time of my week, and I was learning every time I came here and sort of seeing things with a new perspective, which I think is the point of church, you know, or one of the points anyways. And I felt like I wanted to be able to provide those things that I couldn't address in a public school classroom, and so I definitely think that if this was a focus, and as it becomes a focus here, I mean, I think you definitely have a whole lot of potential to influence people. And I mean, I think if you can find ways to make it enjoyable and also offer